Riley Catherall is a singer and songwriter who releases music under his own name and is also a member of Lachlan Bryan and the Wildes. Last year, he released the outstanding album When I Go, but he's already come up with new music, the single Bach at the Moon, and we're going to talk about that and other things. Hi, Riley.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Very pleased to be talking to you about this brand new single, which did not come off your album. Normally a person, releases an album only a year ago and they might release some singles from that album, but you've just come up with a completely new song. So for me, that suggests that there's a willingness on your part to create and move on, for lack of putting it better.
Yeah, I think I definitely got hung up on that record that I put out in the way that it was super important to me, but I also knew that I needed to move on and move on to the next thing. So I found it really hard actually to back up after that record and write new material. And so this song sort of just happened one afternoon, and I was really excited about it. And I thought, you know what, here's the chance to just like take that first step into the next thing. So yeah, I put the song out.
But it is interesting because I know for a lot of artists, they will just keep releasing singles from an album. And obviously you've been playing at festivals recently. You've had some shows performing under your own name, as well as some shows with the Wilds at festivals. So when you're playing songs from your album, does it feel like you're remaking them almost because you have to let them go in a certain way? You let go of the recorded form and then sort of find a way to make them new when you perform them?
Totally. And I think recently when I toured the record initially, I took my band out on the road. Obviously, the way that the songs were recorded were quite involved, layers upon layers of instruments. And it's been nice actually to get out and revisit the songs and perform the songs the way that they were initially recorded in, just by myself. So I think, sort of, I realized that record was really important for me, and I'm probably going to be playing those songs, or at least some of those songs, for the rest of my life. So I guess it is about keeping, that relationship with those songs healthy, and finding them exciting again by just bringing them down to the way that they were written has actually been really nice, So just I guess reigniting the spark with those songs over and over again. And maybe next time I want to play it again with the band, and that'll be the thing that'll keep it new and exciting. But yeah, for the minute, I'm really enjoying just stripping things down again.
And it sounds like festival audiences in Europe and the UK enjoyed that as well, because you had some great feedback. How did you feel the shows went?
Yeah, they were fun. It was just so cool to get over there and play for people who, have just been itching for live music, just like people back here in Australia. But um, it was nice to know that you travel all that way and the reception is still good. And yeah, it's really encouraging. I'm looking forward to getting back over there by myself in March, April next year.
And I suppose that's part of the challenge now, is that after a couple of years of not being able to get on planes and no shows at all, it's now, how do we fit in everything we want to do? And for you, being, working on your own music, working on another band's music, I imagine the schedule's looking quite full.
It is pretty crazy. We're sort of in a period at the minute. Like, I'm doing my own tour at the minute, and Lachlan is busy doing the pleasures stuff, and we've all sort of got other little projects that happen. Because you also don't, I guess, you don't want to saturate the market too much too. You don't want to be playing all the time, putting music out all the time. You sort of need to give people a chance to miss you, I guess. So it can be tricky to navigate, but you know I think, like, as musicians do, we book things out 4 or 5 months in advance, so it's we just make it work. Yeah.
So I imagine that Bark at the Moon is in your live set at the moment. And as you said, it's a song that came to you. And from what I understand, you came up with the song, you recorded it, producing the track yourself really quickly in a matter of hours. So I'm wondering what the initial spark was for it.
Yeah, you know what? If I knew, I would harness that every single day. um, I think, I guess because as an independent musician, you're constantly putting on lots of different hats. It's not necessarily just writing songs and playing shows. So, um, for a long time, I was in, put the record out sort of mode, which was a lot of business and admin and talking about yourself in the third person, which I hate doing. um, and realized that I hadn't written a song for quite a long time, and so I was writing. I guess I just had like a big pent up, barrel of ideas that was just sitting there waiting to just like tap into them. And I think it was once I got out and started to see some live music again. I really like going and watch it. Like I feel like that's what inspires me the most. I really don't like it when people tell me what to listen to. So when I go out and stumble upon some live music accidentally, you know, I do remember a couple of gigs that I went to that I was like, oh, I like what they did there. Or hey, that was a cool melody, that was a cool lyric. Makes me want to go home and write songs. And so I think enough of those little instances sort of accumulated into one afternoon. It all just sort of came flying out.
Yeah. And I should point out that when you're seeing other musicians play and you're thinking, I like what they do there, that's actually coming from a place of having studied music for quite a few years, because you do have degree qualifications.
Yes, I do. Remind me of that. Yeah, it's funny, and I'm sure a lot of musicians will say this too, that it can be sometimes hard to listen to music without, that sort of analytical side of the brain on. Um, and sometimes it is important to just go out and enjoy it. And I find that when I just go out and enjoy music, that's when it actually inspires me more than when I'm, you know, out there actively listening to things.
I'm intrigued that you said you don't like people telling you what to listen to. Does that mean you don't listen to the radio?
No, I don't mind the radio. I think I like the radio because it is random,
Right.
and I don't know, like I like music is such a personal thing.
Mhm.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, like some of the greatest, my biggest idols, like Jason Isbell, for example, I remember somebody told me to listen to him, and then I just you know didn't, because they told me to listen to him, and then I eventually came around and just like stumbled upon him again and was obsessed. But there was something about me discovering it myself that made it as though it was like my own little world, and the music was made for me, and I could actually connect to the music a little differently, rather than knowing that it was a scope of somebody else's admiration for this song or this artist that influenced, was supposed to have some sort of influence on what I liked, sort of thing. So, um, yeah, I don't know. That's just a weird thing that I guess I have. I don't know if anyone else is like that.
Oh yeah, I'm like that. And I also think the stakes are really high when someone suggests music to you, because when music's a passion, if you don't like what they're suggesting to you, then the stakes of your
Yeah.
friendship are on the line.
Yeah. There's a potential I'm going to hate you after this.
Yeah.
I think it's. I guess it's just You also have to be in different moods, like depending on what sort of music you're after at that point in your life or point in your day. Really, it's so fickle. I guess our attention span for what sort of music we like, and so things really have to match up to really connect to things. And yeah, often when people tell you, oh, you might like this, and it's just like, yeah, I might, but not right now. I'm into this sort of music today, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think it is very much a product of or a function of what your mood is and what you need at that point in time. But going back to Bark at the Moon, you said of it, this song was a real exercise in not trying to overwrite new material, and overwriting somewhat suggests second guessing. So do you have a tendency to second guess yourself when you're writing?
Totally. I mean, like that's even beyond just the standard sort of editing process that I think most musicians have when they write something. It's uh, you know, we spend 95% of our day just in crippling self doubt of, what are we doing? We have no business making music or whatever. But I feel as though I was in a really unhealthy state where I would start a song and then I would immediately compare it to another song that I had written, that was, potentially something that I was really proud of or something that did really well, commercially on radio, and then go, well, there's no point in finishing this song because it's not like that song at all. And this was, I mean, I was excited about this song when it started, but it wasn't until I got to the end that I was like, oh, yeah, that was really good. And I think what it was instead of just practicing starting to write a song, you've also got to practice finishing these songs. That's also part of the process of songwriting as a muscle. And this is one of them instances that it just sort of came out really quickly because I didn't really care about it as it was happening. It wasn't like I got hung up on certain lines or certain things like I used to, where it was just about get it done. If you need to come back and edit it, then so be it. But it just so happened that when I was a little bit more relaxed about it, yeah, the song sort of came out in about an hour's time. Really
It's
cool.
interesting what you said about needing to be able to finish songs as well, because I think with a lot of creative endeavors, that could be a difficulty finishing something. It's one thing to have that spark of inspiration and get all excited about it. It's quite another to commit to the entire process so that you go through that beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, I think like even across the board, even not just in writing the song or making the music video or even just releasing a song, uh, when the song isn't done or the song hasn't been released yet, it sort of exists in this infinite capacity where it could be something, and as soon as you actually finalize what that something is, it now has like this quality that cannot be changed anymore. And so I think sometimes I'll create something and I will purposely not finish it because I can hear the rest of the song and I know it sounds great and I feel as though any attempt to actually reckon with the ending of that song will not be as good as what I think it will be. And I think like it's the same with the release, it sort of exists in this infinity where it just has so many possibilities and then all of a sudden it's real and it's out in the world and people either like it or they don't.
Yeah. I guess that is the benefit of live performance, though, in that you can remake that song in any way you like once you're playing it for people. Although that release version is fixed, but there are infinite
Totally.
possibilities in performance.
There is. And I've even noticed it this weekend. I'm on tour. It's the first time sort of playing Bark at the Moon live by myself. And like I recorded the thing live and by myself and it was fine, but I've actually been struggling to then take it to the live show. And it's taken a couple of shows to actually figure out how to actually present it. Your voice sort of reacts differently from day to day, and on stage into a different microphone, it reacts differently. I think maybe I overthink it, but like, yeah, there's just so many different uh, things to think about, or you shouldn't be thinking about, I guess. But yeah, different sort of ways that the song is going to be received and different ways that the song needs to be delivered. So it's interesting.
But in speaking about the vocal and the microphone, on the recording, there is a real lightness to your vocal, I think, in a way that I didn't hear on any of the songs on the album. So whether it was just a function of recording it quickly and as you said, not really caring in that moment in time.
Totally. I remember I did that vocal take. I just like finally edited the lyrics and I just did a quick vocal take before I had to run to the shops or something.
Right.
And I actually went into the studio with Damien Caffarella and recorded this song properly. And he just, he got this brand new $10,000 mic or some, extortionate number. um, and sounded great, but there's something about being in the studio and being forced into this space. Like, and it's a dead space. It's a really quite a strange place to be in for an entire day. And at the end of it, I just listened to it and I said, the whole thing sounds tense. I was very stressed at the time. I knew that I had a small window to get the song recorded, and I realized that the very very relaxed nature of me putting that demo down after I recorded the song, in effect, actually captured what the essence of the song was supposed to be and how the feel of the song was supposed to be received. And so, yeah, I think this doesn't really matter how much expensive equipment you have, as long as the take is the right take, then that can perhaps mean so much more to the quality of the actual performance.
Yeah, right. And Damien did go on to mix the song, and he is your bandmate in the Wilds, we should point out, or I should point out. So obviously you trust him with your work as well as trust him as a bandmate.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt really bad actually because we'd gone through this whole thing of recording it, and then it was like, oh, I don't want to use any of that. And my ability as an engineer is very limited, and this was only supposed to be a demo recording, so I needed to send it somewhere to make it radio ready. And yeah, we've had lots of talks about, you know, the sounds that I like and where I sort of want to go with this, you know, potential next record. And we had a couple of back and forths, and yeah, he's really good like that. And I think because we play in a band together, we know how to talk to each other and not have to tiptoe around each other. It's just sort of like, this is what I want, that's not working, and we don't get sort of hung up or precious about anything.
Yeah, right. And as a member of the Wildes, it is, I mean, you are a fully functioning member of that band. It's not like you're just showing up to play gigs, but it's still not you under your own name. I'm wondering what the experience of being in that band has offered you that you've learned as a solo performer, I guess. So have you learnt much from being in that band that you've been able to take into your solo work?
Oh, so much, you know. And it's funny, I often, you know, will um, talk about the logistical nightmares of being in a band with those guys, and you know, sleeping in a single bed, the three of us, for 3 nights in a row in the UK, and all these, you know, less than glamorous sort of situations that I end up in because I'm part of the Wilds. But I've learned so much about touring, and you know, I feel as though I've really got my stage presence from watching Lachlan night after night. And you know, he's taught me a lot about songwriting, as has Sean, and Kath has really influenced my guitar playing. So yeah, I really owe a lot to my time that I've spent with them so far, and they've been really encouraging of me as well. You know, I'll sing a couple of songs in the set nowadays, and um, yeah, it's been really good for me. I feel like I've been very fortunate with a few different people who've sort of taken me under their wing as I sort of got into this country scene of the Australian music industry.
Yeah. But by the same token, I imagine they would feel they're lucky to have found you to put in their band if it's Lachlan, because it's no one's a charity in this situation. Everyone's trying to make great music.
Totally. And you know, like I did have my solo project sort of underway when I joined the band, so I knew that it's going to be something that you know, was going to be something we'd have to sort of manipulate our calendars a little bit to make it work. But um, they're also, yeah, they're very, I guess, aware that I'm also doing my own thing, and they present me with a few opportunities as well where I wouldn't have them if I didn't know those guys. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, yeah, as you said, we're sort of on a not an official break at the minute, but we're just spending a little bit of time apart, and we'll be back together doing shows in January and in the new year.
Well, given that Lachlan forces you all to share a bed while you're on tour, I think it's a good idea to spend some time apart.
Yeah, yes, it's I've shared. There was a period there where I shared the bed with Sean, the bass player, more times than I shared a bed with my own partner. It's just, oh, yeah,
Well, I'm sure Sean was lovely.
oh yeah, no, it's fine. We've both learnt to sleep on our backs with our arms crossed.
Well, now that you have this new song, Bark at the Moon, I'm imagining you're planning to record and release some other new music, or is it just as it comes to you, you're going to record and release it?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm definitely looking towards the next record. I think after this tour finishes, I will spend a bit of time sitting down and finishing some songs, and doing a bit of pre-production myself. Whether or not that means I'll record the songs myself again, but I feel like Bark at the Moon was a really good sort of flagship song as to where I might want to take the next record, just sound wise and thematically. So yeah, I'm excited about what's going to happen next for sure.
Well, the album When I Go from last year was fantastic. Completely understandable that you want to move on from it because you are a creative person and creating new things, but I look forward to finding out what you create next. And you are in the middle of between dates, you're on the road, so I'll let you get back on the road. Thanks, Riley, for talking to me.
No worries. Thanks for having me.